Steve, we have entered new territory tonight. Episode 26 of the Ape and Bird NFT show. It is the first episode that we are drinking a beer. So cheers to you. Cheers. On this Friday afternoon. You've got the Asahi. I've got the Obsession IPA here.
I see a pretty cool. Yeah, what's going on there?
Moonbird stubby holder. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. It has been a mammoth week. I'm even in a shirt. There's no T-shirt. I've been dressed up this afternoon. I've raced in the door once again.
You've gone back to work, haven't you? You're doing a 9 to 5.
Yeah, I have been wrecked. No, I have not slept really at all this week. It has been insanely busy with NFT Fest coming up. But then on top of that, and we're going to get to that, you know, we've had another crypto meltdown, this time FTX. So
I've been on a retreat this week. I've just come home and logged in now.
It has been all happening. We needed a beer. We needed a beer to just calm things down in these choppy waters that has been the week that has been. I don't even know where to start. But welcome to episode 26. This hasn't been the smoothest of starts, but
thanks for the welcome. Why don't we start with what you sent me as the notes, which seems very important now. Your first thing to talk about was Google Cloud and Solana. and that was, 3 or 4 days ago that happened.
I think that was maybe on the weekend, but, you know, to give our listeners an idea, I keep sort of like a running sort of notepad of like what, you know, some topical things that have happened in the week of NFTs. And it has been a little bit more of a challenge the last few weeks as things heat up with NFT Fest. But I saw an announcement with Google Cloud and Solana, and I thought, that might be interesting to jump into. Then we had Yoots reveal. And the Yoots reveal happened, I reckon, 2 hours after we finished recording last week in episode 25. You sent me the link. So those two items that I sent you, honestly, it feels like those two pieces of news happened 7 years ago, and they happened 6 days ago, 7 days ago.
We always say how quickly things move in the space, but this is like sped up 1000x with all this FTX stuff that's happened this week. It is nuts. I remember seeing the Yoots, and it does feel like a lifetime ago. The Yoots start revealing, and they'd done this cool concept where they were revealing one a minute, and I thought they looked okay, and the site was cool. But yeah, it just seems pointless to talk about. But we will cover Yoots and Yoots Degods and everything a little bit later on, because we will talk about Solana. But we probably should get to the biggest news of the week. If you're here, you know what that has been. Complete shock to me. And it happened so quickly within 24 hours, where FTX went from pretty much a darling to a zero in no time. Can you explain what happened?
I mean, it's hard to explain what happened because, I mean, here's my week, right? So Monday, I'm like, okay, you know, we head down, worked all weekend, away we go. Ticket sales really heating up last weekend on Monday. And then Tuesday, I had a really good morning, right? Everything was just clicking. And, you know, I'm going to touch on the third wave of speakers that we announced a little bit later, Steve. We won't spend a lot of time on NFT Fest today, but, you know, we did announce the likes of Farouk and Keith Grossman from Time Magazine, Carly Riley, Aaron McDonald, who's the founder of Fluff World out of New Zealand that's coming over, like, and a bunch of other ones that I'll talk about in a second. But, you know, Farouk messaged me, right? Not to sort of name drop, but this, you know, I'm in a group chat with Farouk and Keith Grossman, which is quite funny, right? And you know, Farouk came back and said, I'm in, man, you know, let me know, let's make it work. And, you know, all these chips that I was waiting to fall were just happening on Tuesday. And I remember I sent a couple of Discord messages to some friends and like maybe a text message. I said, we're flying, right? I got ahead of myself. I reckon within 2 hours, I start getting messages and I start seeing on Twitter all this drama about FTX. And then I start seeing things like, this is going to be the next Luna. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So this is a constant reminder to myself, to not let the highs get too high and not let the lows get too low. And maybe we need to remind ourselves of not to let the lows get too low. But, we've spoken extensive on this show around the Luna, the Celsius, the sort of 3AC. We're not a, general crypto show overall, but we do like to talk in general on these big sort of issues. I just didn't think we were going to see something that was going to be as big, if not bigger.
Oh, much bigger than Luna.
And I was sort of having, what do they call it? PTSD. I was having a little bit of that from May in May this year when everything just seemed like it was crumbling, and it just came out of nowhere. To your point, and look, my unsophisticated way of understanding this all is Sam was lending out clients' money, right? Like clients' coins, clients' money. So
to himself, really.
Yeah. And doing what all of the stuff that Celsius and Luna and all the rest were doing. He's sort of like a golden child that in crypto that, I've listened to Sam on podcasts like the Making Sense podcast with Sam Harris. And that was, I think, earlier this year. He's talking about like being one of the biggest philanthropists. I nearly got that word out in the world. And, this just story of doing good and all this kind of stuff. Like I still don't think I've processed it properly. And to your point, it happened so quick.
Yeah. And the thing is, he was the golden child until all this stuff with the regulation and so on came on. And that was probably a week ago. Who knows what time is in this current phase. But within that stage and that week of him saying, it needs to be regulated here, I've got this law that we're going to try to pass through the Senate, blah, blah, blah. And people started reading and figuring out what he was doing. And then it was just little things. And then, of course, CZ from Binance, he picked his moment and he just destroyed the market. The amazing thing is, 1 year ago, this was when everything was at the all-time high. So exactly 365 days ago, we were probably shopping for Ferraris and looking at yachts. And it's just amazing what can happen in a year. And as you mentioned before, in these downtimes, you do also have to think that just 1 year ago, Bitcoin was $69,000. ETH was $4,600 US a coin.
Crazy.
So you just got to understand that this is what happens in a market like this. For me personally, look, everyone that has money in FTX, I feel terrible for. There's a slight chance you get it back soon. There's more of a chance you get it back in a couple of years' time once you go through bankruptcy, and there is a big chance that it's zero. But it's, from my point of view, having these things happen so quickly is really good. If this was a legacy banking system, this would play out over years. No one would know about it. But because it's blockchain, because of the bank run and everything, this happened really quickly, quicker than I even imagined. But this is a crypto cycle. It destroys people quickly. There is a big dump, and it takes a lot of time to rebuild. But we keep flushing bad people out of the system. More bad people will come in, but we'll keep stuffing up, figuring out what we can do better next time. And one of the things a lot of the exchanges are doing now is saying, we're going to be showing our wallets so you know how many coins we have in our bank pretty much at all times. So this should have been done from day one, of course. The other thing is just don't use centralized exchanges unless you're coming in and out of crypto. The beauty of NFTs is that we've all had to learn how to use MetaMask and hold our NFTs in our own wallets, because you can't really send an NFT to an exchange to hold for you. So the people in the NFT space, I feel, have a bit of a leg up because we've felt comfortable having our own wallet, and we now need to feel very comfortable also holding the coins, which we can say is an NFT without a picture. if that makes it better, in our own wallet. So I have to thank FTX because they did save me once. We talked about when the Luna thing happened, I had some money in BlockFi. I had assumed that was gone. FTX saved BlockFi, which we'll talk about in a sec, that they've tweeted in the last couple of hours. I managed to get my money out. And then, of course, a couple of weeks later, BlockFi said, we're fine. Here's some more juicy APY for you to bring your coins back. Now, I was smart enough, or maybe just too shook up, to not do that. And if I had, it looks like BlockFi is going to be bankrupt as well based on the recent tweet. But in this case, we've all got to learn you cannot trust anybody in this space. The old saying of not your keys, not your coins holds so true during these times. So if you do have money on exchanges, and look, I trust, trust is a strong word in this space. I believe that a few of the Aussie crypto companies where I have coins with are fairly safe. I'm sure they've got some backstops and so on. And I had a few Bitcoin on a few. I've now moved them to my own wallet. And the only time I'll be sending anything to a centralized exchange is when I'm cashing in and out. So you just have to learn from the mistakes. And it's the old fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. No, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So we've all learned the lesson. If we don't learn the lesson, we'll get taught that lesson again very soon, I'm sure. Yeah. So take that in mind going forward.
Yeah, I think that's it's a very pointed message, an important message. I'd like to echo what you said too. I'm not a FTX customer. It is funny. I got very close to opening a wallet with FTX many months ago, and I think I got distracted, and I just said I can't be bothered. And I don't think I would have had much on an exchange anyway. But I do feel for people that have been caught, and I've seen a few stories in DMs and just various group chats of no one that I know directly, but sort of one person removed from people that I know. And there's been some real horror stories similar to what we heard from, the Luna stuff, where people, they've been on holiday, for a couple of weeks and sort of detached from devices and trying to recharge the batteries. And they've been completely caught out. And, it's just, I couldn't imagine that horrible feeling. But, I think if you have been caught out, reach out to someone, get it off your chest, speak to someone. It's very easy to say the sun will come up the next day. But the reality is it will. I just hope that our listeners, Steve, no one has been directly caught in a bad situation. It's just such an unfortunate situation. And I think, as the bankless guys, I was listening to a podcast as I went to sleep last night, and it was sort of like, here's another black eye for crypto, right? Crypto is not, it's not dead. It's not going away, but these things set us back, right? And
a huge amount of those people that lost funds will never come back to crypto.
Yeah, well, it would be hard to want to after that type of experience. So I think that's completely understandable. But it's the whole crypto Web3 thing is so large, it's so complex, it's so nuanced. But from a normie type of headline reading, this is not good news at all. Everything will be batched into the same. I'm not going to lie and say that, from a personal and selfish perspective, even though I wasn't caught, it hasn't been, ticket sales are still going well for NFT Fest, but it's not great, 2 weeks before our event to have this, massive event happen, and sort of, those people that maybe are sitting on the sidelines 50-50 about coming, I don't know how it shakes out, but, I'm still confident that we'll run a good event. But anyway, I don't want to make it too much about me and my event. But, I think it has ramifications across the board is probably the best way that I can say. Yeah.
And this is only the start. So FTX being so trustworthy and so big, as I mentioned before, BlockFi is already done. There are going to be hundreds of companies and other exchanges. And we're not going to share any rumors because it's pointless too. But there are a lot of exchanges that had a lot of equity or actual funds in FTX, and they're going to go down, and it's going to be cascading. I can see this being much, much worse than Luna. And in a sense, Luna did trigger this. If I'm sure we're going to find out that Alameda was trading insolvent after the Luna fiasco. But yeah, it's not a good time. It's just going to get a bit worse as more information comes out. And it really has set the industry back, I think, at least a year or two. And of course, NFTs, look, we enjoy our pretty pictures, but it is a much bigger issue than just NFTs. But we will cover the NFT component of it.
Yeah, I think there's actually a really, really good Spaces and impromptu Spaces on Tuesday, about at 5:30 Australian time, like daylight saving time. And it was Farouk and Not That Thread Guy that were hosting it. But you had Kobe, you had Ledger, you had Blau, you had Mel, who's an Aussie that I respect a lot. She does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff for Rug Radio, often co-hosts with Farouk. And it was just it was a really, really good Spaces. But I remember Kobe actually said, I'm an NFT maxi from now on, because he said, so sick of crypto. He said, at least if everything goes to zero, you guys still have your pretty pictures. He's like, I'm in.
Did you see the crazy Up Only episode live where you had Do Kwon come on, Martin Shkreli or whatever his name is? It was incredible.
I did see the clip. Yeah.
Oh, I was watching it, and it's just like we are living in a simulation and you saw Kobe just chuckling the whole time, because I don't think he could believe what was happening either. But I do want to give a shout out to you and the NFT Fest for Monday night. So I jump in on Twitter into a Spaces run by certain Twitter profiles, and I just have to leave within minutes because it's just people screaming at each other, and it's ridiculous. So I found some time, even though I was trying to get the kids to sleep, on Monday night. I believe you started at 7:30 or 8.
Yeah, 8,
and it was just a fantastic space with really smart people having a genuine conversation about not only how they got into the NFT space, but where they see it going, and just talking about some topics and everything. It was just fantastic. And I did hear a couple of shout outs, and I was trying to get on, but you just would have heard 3 children screaming their heads off the whole time.
Well, we've got another opportunity, and thank you for those words. I think we've run 4 or 5 of them now. Road to NFT Spaces. We're doing them 8 o'clock every Monday night, 8 o'clock sort of Sydney, Melbourne time. This coming Monday, Steve, we have 2. We have a double header. We have one at 12:30 p.m.
I believe you got Zeneca on.
Zeneca is our special guest, but we potentially going to have more special guests. But Zeneca alone, I think, is going to be really special. Zeneca reached out about 3 weeks ago and said he would love to be on. He wants to talk about NFT Fest, which he's obviously speaking at, but he also wants to talk about just the Aussie Web3 movement that sort of exploded a month ago. So we've got Zeneca coming up, and then on Monday night we'll have our regular time slot with Spaces too. But shout out to your friend Jards from the NRL, Steve. He
fantastic. Talked really well. Yeah,
he was great.
I've talked to him once or twice, but how eloquently he put the vision that he wants, it was just amazing to hear. It got me hyped up.
Yeah, 100%. Jards was really good. We had some amazing guests. We even had Boho, who essentially kicked off that Aussie Follow Aussie thing a month ago. But even the week before, Steve, we had the first hour was one of the best hours in NFTs I had. We had Kieran Warwick from Alluvium up for half an hour chatting to us. Really, really insightful. And these are all recorded, by the way. So if you go back down our sort of NFT Fest feed on Twitter, you'll find them. But then we had Cav Templey from Eskimo Joe. He's from Eskimo Joe. And you want to talk about someone that's done their homework on NFTs, right? Like he is doing an NFT drop. He's actually doing it on the 22nd of November, the night before NFT Fest starts, at one of our official kickoff events at GT and Jane's Oshi Gallery with Ocean Floor Music. But I was just, excuse me, I was super impressed by the level of homework he had put in. Like, you know, we've seen so many celebrities and artists and sort of athletes that have come in that are just extracting from their fan base, right? Or extracting in general.
And have no idea apart from the fact that NFT's a thing.
Yeah. So Cav was talking about, you know, I remember taking notes. He was talking about sort of doing 90-second short music clips that are designed as music NFTs, right? So he's actually trying to make music nuanced to this new platform. So again, it's an experiment, but I think that's really fascinating. There's not just some famous musician that's coming in and saying like, oh, here's a 10,000 recordings of a previous album. Go out and
like
buy
Lord
them.
of the Rings has tried to do with their NFT drop recently.
Well, I'm not across that one, but give us the TLDR on that.
Oh, it's just that if you buy that, you get some behind the scenes footage and you get to watch the movie. It's like pretty much the DVD with a little booklet that's been wrapped up into an NFT.
So they're not getting advice from, there was a consultancy I saw called
no, I believe they were.
TyLopez.co. Yeah, they're not.
No, you get to hang out with all of the Lord of the Ring characters for a night and watch the movie.
How much was it? How much ETH was it to watch a movie with Ty Lopez? It was something like 20 ETH, wasn't it? When ETH was at like 4K USD.
I can't remember, but this Lord of the Rings one, I think it was $70 US. But if you resold the NFT, I believe it was a 50 to 60% royalty fee. So yeah, at least they're trying stuff, but a lot of iteration to go on that sort of movie-based NFT. You know what just came to mind? How quick this week has been. Last week we ended talking about art gobblers. Does anyone even think they've gone from, I don't know what it is recently, but the last I saw, a high of 25 ETH. This is within a week, all of this has happened. The last I saw was 3.5 ETH. It's just crazy, this space.
It's at 3.5?
Well, that was the last I saw. That was a couple of days ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, we did end the show with not financial advice, but I also said do not buy art gobblers. So there was some advice. Let's talk about. So I actually want to talk. There's two things. One, I want to talk about how all of this has impacted the NFT space. But before that, let's get to royalties. And OpenSea announced on Sunday their idea for royalties. And that changed pretty quickly. So another reason how feedback goes very quickly in this space, and then they have been very open to feedback. But can you tell us about what the initial plan was from them and how it changed very, very quickly?
Okay, so I am going to need a little bit of help from you, but my unsophisticated take on their initial announcement on, I think it was sort of Sunday afternoon.
We've lost Greg.
Sorry, my computer's.
So I'll explain what OpenSea proposed. Oh, here we go. Wait, sorry, Greg, you're back.
I apologize.
We
I
had lost
apologize
you
to our listeners. I have about 1,000 tabs open at the moment, and my computer's about to blow up. So I apologize to Steve as well. I need to get my act together. Back to OpenSea's announcement. Sunday sort of afternoon, Australian time. I remember seeing a tweet, and I saw a lot of backlash initially. You know, Bobby Hundreds, Betty. Many of the sort of influential figures in the space. I am seeing, Steve, that my laptop is about to shut, so I'm. It's charging, but it's saying it's not charging. So sorry, we're going very smoothly with this OpenSea thing.
As we do every time.
That my laptop is going to. I've got it charged. I'm giving our listeners a live look into what I'm dealing with here, but ultimately I've got it plugged into the wall. The battery's on, and it's telling me I've got 7%. Steve, I'm a bit worried here. Okay, so
if it's an overheating problem, just put some of the beer over it, and you'll be fine.
I could get cut off at any point given what's happening with my computer right now, but the OpenSea thing was, it was a little bit confusing to me when I read the thread. I read it in a very, very short amount of time, sort of skimming over it. But it seemed like they were going to, combat some of the competitors that have been coming at them by essentially blacklisting some NFTs. Is that the way that you read it?
Yeah, I didn't really hear you there. But yeah, from my point of view, I only read a couple of articles as well. It looked like they were going to create a sort of blacklist of other exchanges. So my understanding, and it's probably wrong, was that you could pretty much put a line of code into your Solidity contract, and then that would link to OpenSea's pretty much database of all these other exchanges that weren't doing royalties, and OpenSea would look after it for you and make sure if they're not paying royalties, they wouldn't be able to trade. Of course, the reason behind this, and OpenSea wouldn't take themselves off this, and they also said, if you don't add this for your NFT project, we won't put royalties on our platform. So as we've seen over the last couple of months, but most recently, the last few days, OpenSea is now only doing 50% of NFT turnover. So they need to do something. Hold on. I just got your message saying the laptop. We'll continue on until your laptop just dies. So, yeah, pretty much if you don't use this, they're not going to put royalties on for your collection. And if you do, they won't let any other platforms pretty much trade unless they're going to pay a royalty. And then can you continue on with what Betty came out with?
Yeah, well, I just think that Betty, got on the front foot with it as a leading voice, as a creator and a founder of a PFP project. And the yesterday, I think about 9 o'clock yesterday, essentially OpenSea came back and backtracked on everything they had said on Sunday, and essentially said business as usual is the way that I would sort of interpret it. Which is, so it's quite interesting that
pretty much
in real time we're seeing all these nuanced discussions and important discussions happening in an open arena, to Elon's point, in an open town square, and for $8, pay your $8
for $8.
But look, I think we've spoken about royalties on this show before, haven't we? And I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out long term, but I understand the pushback from many pockets of the NFT space, particularly the creators.
Yeah. So, hold on.
No, that's okay. I'm just going to tell our listeners why you handle that, Steve. So I mentioned before, we announced our third and final wave of speakers for NFT Fest earlier this week. Excuse me, headlining some of those speakers were Farouk from Rug Radio, the president of Time Magazine, Keith Grossman, Carly Riley from Overpriced JPEGs, Aaron McDonald. If you don't know Aaron, founder of Fluff World, but also Google Aaron and put in Futureverse. Really excited to have Aaron come over to Melbourne and speak in real life. Alex is building, for those that are aware of Alex, good Aussie builder, Takoa, Voxel Blaze, who heads up Sandbox Australia, Morgan Stone, Cav Templey from Eskimo Joe that I mentioned. So we have the MetaKey, Steve. We've got some representatives from the MetaKey, not only Maddie, DCL blogger, but also Kevin Lee and Michael P. So, yeah, really looking forward to NFT Fest because we've rounded out our speaker roster now. We've got Alan from NF Teams, Steve. So I'm looking forward to have Alan involved as well.
I will say we're never drinking again. This is a mess.
This has been bad, and I think that I think we're about to get cut off because I literally cannot charge my computer. I know people are probably thinking like, why don't you just plug it in and plug it back out? I've been doing that for the last 5 minutes, and it will not register that the thing. I put it in different sockets and everything. Like this is.
Well, let me go over the point that I was going to make, and I'm sure you'll get cut off. But FTX going down. We saw Solana, and we've talked about Solana NFTs before. Solana is pretty much an FTX product. Sam is massively behind it. I hope for all Solana people that the community is strong enough that they survive what's to come. We saw, as we mentioned, Yoots reveal, and then Yoots Degods pretty much saying, shit, we have to move to Ethereum. So my thing was, and I think it was 2 nights ago, I was reading The Three Little Pigs to my kids. And I just thought this is a perfect analogy of all these other layer ones and trying to buy NFTs on them. So we know that NFT projects, 99% are going to zero. But then we also know that all these other layer ones, 99% are going to go to zero. If you've been here in 2017 or 13, you can look at the charts from then with the top 100 coins, and there's only 2 or 3 coins that remain every new cycle. So what you're doing by buying Solana NFTs or any of these others, Avalanche and so on, is you're sort of compounding the risk. So not only do you have to pick that one rare, well, Degods or Yoots that is going to do well on that platform, but then you also have to pick the right actual blockchain that's going to survive. So it's very tough. And I know a lot of friends that have started getting into Solana NFTs. And it's why we always make jokes. You always say how fond I am of Solana. And I don't think either of us have ever bought a Solana NFT. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there and wish all the Solana NFT people and project founders all the best, because it's going to get rough. And it's going to be interesting to see if people do start trying to bridge their projects to ETH. And I'm sure the ETH NFT community will welcome them in anyway. Okay, I think Greg is definitely gone there. So what I will do, I'll end it with the ETH side of things, actually. So if Greg comes back, we'll continue talking. But what I've been seeing... Oh, is he back? No. So what wasn't common knowledge was the fact that we saw there was 101 Bored Ape Sotheby's sale. And what wasn't common knowledge was that FTX was the buyer of those 101 Bored Apes. And we've also seen recently that Deepak, who owns a gold Bored Ape, he's selling his entire collection because he's been impacted by FTX. And in our little Gold Ape chat, I believe about 15 to 20% of gold apes are going to go up for sale very soon. So I can see a floor price in the 500 to 600 ETH range very quickly for gold apes. And this is, of course, going to impact the broader NFT market. Deepak's Alien Punk, he bought for 8,000 ETH. That's going to probably go for 3,000 to 4,000, if that. But yeah, it's not a great time for the whole crypto space. NFTs, I'm hoping, will survive a lot better because we're building, there's still fun in the communities there. We all know how to self-custody. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. And I think we'll end it on that. Apologies for the absolute shit show we had today. We're never drinking again during a podcast. But until next week, we'll talk to you then. Hope you all stay safe out there. See ya.